Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Discord and Dragons. This is the 219th stream in this series. It's been going on for about 5 years now. Woo. Well, not fully 5, but getting close to it. Welcome as always. Tonight we have some friends of mine, and we have some usual friends and faces, but we have a special visitor coming to visit us from Sweden, which I look forward to getting into. But speaking of things to get into with friends, it is getting to be springtime, so that means I will be hosting a picnic event. My Patriot Picnic event is for people who are able to come to East Tennessee that want to hang out with me all day Saturday to cook burgers, have my bacon wrapped pork chops, have my delicious steak kebabs, and have a good old American fun time at a gorgeous lakeside park. Let me pull up the pictures from my last one. Here is a picture from one side of the little lake island where we have it. We have, I don't know why that came up. Here's a picture of the other side where you drive in. This is in East Tennessee, just off of Interstate 81. There's a picture of the marina you can see from the road where you drive in. Here's a few pictures of the park, just to sort of wet your whistle. And of course, there are deer, usually this time of year, and they are very friendly, and sometimes they'll even eat out of your hand if you're lucky enough. Pretty pictures. And of course, I rent us a nice pavilion. That's what these little buildings are. So even if there's a little bit of rain, we won't get wet. And they have little built-in grill spaces for grilling. And this is a pretty picture that I take from the perch from the pavilion that I rent. So we can go ahead and close that. The target date is either the 2nd or the 3rd Saturday in April. I wait to pick a date until I start hearing back from people to see which date works best for them. And of course, it is on a Saturday. These Saturdays, of course, will be hopefully the best day for everyone. It usually is. That's why for the last few years, we've been definitely doing it on a Saturday. I like to start around 10 a.m. and then we hang out and go until dark. Just having good fellowship, laughing, talking. You can bring your dogs, your pets to the island. The park allows pets, of course. They need to be leashed, like always. And it's a family-friendly event. You can bring your kids, as many people do. Bring your family members, wife, kids, friends, whatever. It's just a place for sharing fellowship. We don't really even talk about politics or anything. We just hang out and share what people should share, which is fellowship and bonding over things that bring us together. So anyway, that is my big shill. Reach out to me. Let me know via email at usetheunic@protonmail.com. You can reach out to me on Gab, Twitter, Telegram, minds.com, or Discord. There are many ways to get a hold of me. Let me know, what day works better for you in April, either the 2nd or the 3rd Saturday in April, and I will let you know what the roster is, and we'll go from there. If I don't know you at all and you're new, I will want to talk on voice and video to sort of vet you to make sure I'm not inviting a stranger or a weirdo to my events. But most of the people who come, I already know through the networking and the activism and stuff I've done throughout the years, and people who support my channel. So with that being said, let's go ahead and bring on the featured guest for the evening, Mr. Pomen from Sweden. Welcome, sir.
Hello.
I'm glad you are back, healthy and hale.
Yes, indeed. As I said, now winter is over and spring is coming. So
good. The other featured guest for tonight is Politicrat. Welcome back, my friend.
You hear me?
Yes, I hear you just fine.
Yep, I'm doing well. And yourself?
Oh, I'm good. Glad that the winter finally broke and it's a little cooler. I wish it would stay in the cool zone, but I have a feeling it's about to be hot soon. So, unfortunately,
I like winter, but I am done with winter.
I wish it was a nice tame winter all of the time. But
I don't know. I'm a fan of snow, so.
I also received a message from 3 of 12 that something came up at the last minute that he's sorting out, but he should be on shortly. So we don't have him right now, but we do have the other guest for the evening, Mr. Bleach Demon. Welcome back, sir.
Greetings, salutations. Happy to be back.
Glad you are back, my friend. So, before we get started, we will wait on 3 of 12, and we will get the shillings out of the way first. Mr. Pomen, is there anything you would like to shill while you're here today for my audience, sir?
Well, yes, of course, especially my YouTube channel. It's the main things I produce. So do check that out. It's in the description.
I'm sharing the link in the chat right now as you speak.
Very nice. But mostly I cover historical topics, and I've recently covered some Christian topics. I did a documentary down in Germany, in Wittenberg, with the new focus of a new 95 thesis, taking back the mainline Protestant churches in Europe. If you ever heard that before, it's a bit of redeemed Sumer idea. But I joined it and I filmed it and documented it. So it was pretty fun.
Cool.
So it's now
I'll
a long
definitely check that
documentary
out.
about that.
Pomen here has made a lot of interesting content over the years. I definitely recommend you give his backlog a look as well. He has all kinds of interesting things to learn on his channel.
Especially if you're a fan of history or absurd people.
Yeah, I'm partial to your Absurd People series. I like it.
Very nice.
Mr. Politicrat, is there anything you would like to shill while you're here, sir?
Not at the moment.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
No problem. And we already talked before the stream. Bleach Demon, you have something coming up you'd like to shill. Go ahead and tell people about it while I put the link in the chat.
Yes, indeed. So Fat Dave, also known as Total Blackout Painting, and myself are continuing our art history series, Autists Circle, and that will be for roughly 1 hour tomorrow at 7 Eastern, and I can't remember, what is it, 5 Mountain Time? And it's a good romp through, we typically pick a single artist, go through some of their art, their life, and try to reemphasize that art's very important to our world now, so don't give up on art because some frou-frou idiot is throwing paint on a wall and acting like a duck.
All right. Well, we will be joined by my co-host 3 of 12. He messaged me a moment ago, said he's working on fixing a problem, so we will start without him. Let's see here. The way that it works is I like to nominate a party leader, and the party leader is the one who chooses the topic or chooses a party member to choose the topic, and whoever chooses the dragon is the first one who has to answer the question after we look at a short video or read a bit from an article. So do any of you want to volunteer to be the party leader tonight, or shall I choose one? Well, no one jumped at it, so I will go ahead and nominate Pomen. It has been a while since you've been here. I would like you to be the party leader for this evening, sir.
Sure thing.
All right, let's go ahead and pull up the branding. And before we get started, however, I do want to remind you guys that I don't like to work for free, neither do you. During the course of the stream, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about the dragon topics, the news, or just responding to anything that myself and the panel has to say. I would appreciate it if you could send in a few dollars to show your appreciation for the work that I do and the people who donate their time to my stream. You can send it. I prefer you to send in your paid chats on Entropy. That's the pinned link in the chat and the top link in the way you can support comments. You can also send in short messages on Cash App and PayPal, as well as Buy Me a Coffee. You can find all of those links in the description below. And if you really like the work I do, I would love for you to be a monthly subscriber of mine over on Subscribestar. And if you are, you get your name put into that wonderful intro graphic by Lomax Designs. I'll add your name right in, and you'll see it pop up at the beginning of every one of my streams. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go to the usual view, and let me introduce you to the dragons for this evening. The red dragon tonight has Fallout. The green dragon has Immigrant Fatigue. The black dragon has Medical Vampirism. The blue dragon has Corporate Bullies, and the white dragon has Anti-Whiteism Delinda Est. So these topics are a spectrum of different kinds of social and political issues, and there's even a technology, there's 2 technology topics tonight. So should be a nice spectrum of things for us to chew the fat on. So Mr. Pomen, as the party leader, which one would you like to start with?
Well, I mean, there's one very fitting to some of the other stuff I've worked on in the past, and that's Fallout.
Oh, indeed. With your Enclave playthrough of New Vegas, I remember.
Yes, and the Frontier that happened during big mess. Really fun. I was a big figure with all of that.
I wasn't able to watch all of that, but I did catch a few of them. It was fun.
It was.
All right. Let us start then with the red dragon. Excuse me. And we actually go now to a Politico article, of all things. I don't usually use Politico, but I found this to be an interesting article on Politico. So we will take a look at that. Over here, how every EU country responded to the strike on Iran. From caution to condemnation, here's the bloc's reaction to America and Israel bombing Tehran. Brussels. Most European leaders have reacted cautiously to the U.S.-Israeli attacks over the weekend that killed Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, while condemning Tehran's retaliatory strikes. Some have openly touted the possibility of a new regime in Iran. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez was the only EU leader to openly condemn the strikes on Iran. Among EU officials, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said a credible transition in Iran is urgently needed, while the EU's top diplomat, Kaja Kallas, said there is now an open path to a different Iran. X to doubt. European foreign ministers are meeting Sunday night for an emergency session in the Middle East after almost 36 hours of strikes and counterstrikes across the region. It's been longer now. This is an article from several days ago. But here I thought was interesting. We have a long list of EU countries and what the official remarks are. So let's start with Sweden, since we have Pomen with us tonight. Yeah. Sweden's Prime Minister, Ulf, let me make sure I say this correctly, Kristersson. Is that how?
Kristersson, yeah.
It's good. Kristersson.
Kristersson. Okay. It's fine. It's good.
Kristersson. Okay. The Prime Minister condemned the Iranian counterattacks and criticized the regime's oppression of its own people. Iran's nuclear program and its support for terrorist groups have for a long time been a destabilizing factor, he said. Now, while some of that is true, I don't think that a quote-unquote Iran nuclear program was anything to fear. Seemingly, with all of the details that I could find all throughout the web, it doesn't seem like Iran was building nuclear weapons. It seemed like it was gearing up for nuclear energy, from what I could find. But, I don't know everything. I'm just some spastic on the internet who likes to talk about things. The one that I found interesting was Spain. Spain's Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, was the only EU leader to openly condemn the attack. Quote, "We reject the unilateral military action by the United States and Israel," he said, end quote. End quote, he said. He also condemned Tehran's counterattacks. Quote, "We cannot afford another prolonged and devastating war in the Middle East," end quote. I find this to be entirely reasonable, a very based and succinct way to phrase it. This is exactly how I feel. I don't want more forever wars. I don't want more destabilization in Iran or anywhere. And I also reject this ridiculous unilateral military action by the U.S. and Israel. It sickens me and I hate it. Let's see. Where was another one I thought was interesting? Romania here. The president, Niscordan, focused on the safety of Romanian citizens, but Foreign Minister Oana said that Khamenei's death is a turning point. Wonder where he got that. Stressing that the Iranian regime's brutal actions against its citizens and support for Russia's military campaign. Now, see, I find it interesting that the foreign minister is the one speaking the same cancerous talking points that comes out of all Zionist media. I find that interesting. It's almost like it's the same people that are in charge of media everywhere. It's that interesting.
Yeah.
Poland, of course, always has something interesting to say. Poland's Polish President Nawrocki said Poland had advanced knowledge of the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran, while Prime Minister Donald Tusk stressed the safety of Polish citizens in the Middle East. That's a common thread that you'll see throughout most of these. Most of these leaders are simply concerned about their citizens being caught up in this ridiculous war. That seems to be the general sentiment of most of the EU speakers. So we will go ahead and leave the article off there and move to the Red Dragon, which is this wise old worm here. The Red with us tonight has been embroiled in the Great Dragon Empire's politics for centuries and has to deal with both dragon and non-dragon socio-political issues. Geopolitics is one of the most complex things in the cosmos, and that's what intrigues his powerful mind the most. He likes how complicated and conflicted the humans are on Earth. It's very entertaining. So he chose this topic tonight to ask us this question. And it comes to you first, Pomen. What are your thoughts and predictions about the fallout from the recent Zionist strike on Iran, especially in regards to member states of the EU?
No one has the answer for that. No one knows. Like, this is sadly a day-to-day occurrence because Trump changes his mind as much. Well, probably less than changes his underwear.
Yep.
But like there's a lot in that article that is fascinating. Obviously, a lot more happened since that article.
Mhm.
The main concern of every EU leader, because it's only been a week, 10 days. Well, yeah, but a week.
It's been between 9 and 10 days from what I can tell. Yeah.
Yeah, but about last week was the messiest. Most of it was getting their citizens out,
Mhm.
which was one of the biggest. Always constantly on the news here because no one got any warnings. So we had people in all of the Middle East because I mean Swedes as well, just tourists, normal people, especially in Dubai. You know who those people are. Yuck. They were mocked here quite a lot because no one likes anybody going to Dubai. But the main concern of all prime ministers, more or less, was getting their people home safe. And that was really hard because the air was out, like you couldn't fly in planes, and it was just overall a big mess.
Mhm.
But the fallout is obviously a continuation of distrust for both America and Israel. Now, I followed, well, there are two camps, and one is the majority side, and one is the media side. So, example, the leading experts of geopolitics here in Sweden, we have some big names here. They were all against this war, especially saying that there's no point. I mean, they understand why Iran acted like it did. Of course, it's not good to bomb and back and forth, but regime change will not happen through missile strikes.
Correct.
But when stating that, the attack on anyone stating that has been quite ridiculous because every single pro-Israeli media pundit or Mossad agent or whatever you want to define them as has been going on full throttle attack because this war is very important for them.
Yes.
They've even made it a religious bit. So
yep, the Zionist mouthpieces in my media have been the same.
Yes, but overall, the majority of the leaders, let's take Keir Starmer for example. Keir Starmer wanted to go into the war in Iran. He positioned some troops, but that was after an attack on Cyprus, on a military base in Cyprus. But it turns out that Iran did not attack the military base in Cyprus. It came from another, region that they don't like to mention, that they haven't mentioned. But after that, after he found out where the attack came from, he backed out. And that's why Trump has said, like, Keir Starmer is a coward. We thought England was our allies, but they're not, they're our enemies, which is insane.
Yep.
But overall, the trust on the United States is lower than ever before. Everybody's preparing for war. Everybody's happy. Whoever had prepared before is very happy. We are ensuring to keep the oil that we have in supply, but overall, we don't know when this war ends, but we're not keen on it.
And also, gas interruption is a huge problem too.
Oh yeah, yes. But it's so volatile for the moment because, for example, when Trump recently said the war is over, he did that. Oh, we won. No, of course he haven't won, but he likes to say it because, you know how he is.
Because he's an egotistical braggart
an awful person, a murderer in my eyes now.
Yes.
And immediately the oil prices went down. It's like, okay, we live in a very volatile system. And we all know it now. And it's so blatant.
Yep.
It was always blatant. And now it becomes, they go one step constantly beyond. So Europe can't do much. So the reason why, for example, Ursula von der Leyen or even Kaya said what she did, it's just to not get America against you because they need to ensure continuous trade, or at least try to get the diplomatic approach. But how do you keep diplomacy with someone who is
right? Because I try to put myself in the shoes of someone who is a diplomat or politician of a European country like Poland or Germany or something like that. And I think to myself, if I saw from across the Atlantic Ocean the leading regime of the most powerful country on earth siding with one of the most psychotic, bloodthirsty, evil nations in the world, Israel, and both of them acting in tandem to do blatantly, horrifically destructive and evil military attacks that disrupted trade everywhere in the world, but specifically to Eastern Europe and the Middle East, of course. And then at the same time, you were getting schizophrenic, nonsensical answers as to why from the leadership. That would put me as a leader of a European country into a very questionable mindset of what do I even say? What can I do? I would just go on the defensive and not want to say or do anything and just see what happens.
Well, they don't know what to do. Like during all of this, well, the beginning of the Iran war, if I'm correct, Merz, the Chancellor of Germany, went there. And people were complaining because he was so nice to Germany. He even said, like, we're gonna, when Trump said we're gonna sanction Spain, Merz even said, yeah, but the issue is they're trying to play what they usually play because they're, let's call it Atlanticist sort of liberals, meaning the joint assistance between America and Europe, that type of like city liberal. And they've done this since World War II, and it worked, but not anymore. It doesn't work, and they don't know really what to change because they have to change their mentality. But what else is there? But again, Trump just keeps losing. That's the thing. Like he says he wins. He keeps losing. He keeps being fooled. He keeps just overall. This is awful. For an American, I can't imagine what it is to be an American at this point.
It feels terrible. I'll tell you that. It feels absolutely terrible. But I don't want to steal the show. Speaking of American, let's hear from either Politicrat or Bleach Demon on this. Which one of you wants to go next?
I don't know. So I don't think that this is going to start. This is not the start of World War III. I mean, I could be wrong. People are basically saying that. I disagree. Look, I am 100% on board with you guys. I am against the war. Or what is it? Special police operation or whatever it is that they're calling it right now. Israel has dragged us into it. Again, I'm preaching to the choir here. In terms of the EU, I don't know if you guys heard, but Spain actually recently, I think what was it? They said that no military bases in Spain belonging to the US or any other country that participates in the Iran conflict are not allowed to mobilize from there. And that if they do, that's going to create a diplomatic incident, which is interesting. So
kick the Americans out.
Yeah, which is
so that's already been resolved.
No, it has not.
It hasn't.
No, he lied. Trump lied.
Yeah, Trump lied about that.
I don't think it has been. Yeah, it has not.
No, it hasn't. So what Trump did, he had a speech saying like, because it was when Merz was there, he said it, that we're going to punish Spain with tariffs, not going to trade with them. And 1 day or 2 days after the fact, he said, we came to an agreement with Spain. We're going to use their bases and we're going to keep the trade with them. And Sanchez went out on a speech immediately, like yesterday afternoon of the same day, saying, no, they still don't have, they can't use our bases yet.
This is what I get for walking away for a day.
Yeah, man, this has been crazy. Don't feel bad. Like I've been giving at least 2 hours of my day to this, trying to keep up, and I even miss stuff. Like this is crazy.
But yeah, no. So in terms of this, so I mean, my philosophy is like again, I would say I'm a realist in practice, sort of like a more like a Mearsheimer or even a Kissinger. However, my foreign policy default tends to be more libertarian.
You're a Coke
I do believe in spheres of influence. I believe that America, I think it's fine to fuck around in our backyard, aka South and Central America. I don't want anything to do with the Middle East. I don't want anything to do with Israel. I think Israel, like, I don't have a problem with them existing. But we need to get their foreign influence out of the State Department. We need to get rid of AIPAC, or at least have them register as
whatever happened to stuffing them all in Madagascar? That's a good idea.
Yeah, but then, so like this is not like Venezuela. Like I was actually, I had some criticisms of how they went about it, but ultimately, I think what we did in Venezuela was net positive. But with Iran, no.
It was certainly a net positive for Israel. What happened in Venezuela?
You think so?
Yep.
Explain.
Nope. Move on.
You don't want to explain?
Nope. I want to keep on target. Let's keep.
Okay. In terms of the member states of the EU, just given the nature of the EU, like you saw this in Iraq, both times, war on terror. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but they always get, due to the nature of NATO, they always get dragged into this. I think most European countries are going to end up getting involved to some degree. Of course, you're already starting to see that, but it's a.
We haven't. No one has gotten involved yet outside of America.
Yeah, no, I do think it's a matter of time though. Hopefully not. Hopefully they don't. I mean, maybe
I don't think so. I don't think so either.
Yeah, I have to raise questions on that too, because if you're saying that like the Iranian thing is basically it's fake news, Israel got us involved in it, it's not going to end the way that we think it's going to end, then you can't believe that South America is going to end that way either. It's either consistency or it's not.
Well, yeah,
I think I'm being consistent. I'm being consistent here. I mean, they're two totally different geopolitical contexts.
Yeah,
like
and different terrain as well.
Yeah, exactly. And also take into account the proximity between, of course, the United States and South America. It's very different. Like we need to, again, I'm fine with having like a Western Hemisphere American empire, for the lack of a better term. Okay, fine, whatever. But we have no business in the Middle East. And I think that we need to, with Iran, and I've been saying this since 2019, I wrote an essay on it back then, and then I ended up revising it and publishing it with the Mises Institute about 2 years ago. We need the perfect solution is détente. I mean, I know people will call that appeasement and fuck them, but that is I mean, I honestly like to trade with Iran. I think that would be, and economically, all these sanctions that we put on them since the revolution back in 1979 has ultimately pushed them into the arms of Russia and China. Russia is the #1 investor in Persian capital.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
so
it's not about money, so it's not about the economy of trade in this one.
I actually agree with Pomen again.
But the issue here is what should have happened within the past 30 years pursuing détente. Ultimately, theoretically, Iran would have more to benefit out of trading with the US than it would Russia and China.
But would that
absolutely? I agree.
To play the Israelis advocate here, would that not just mean that it would have more money to fund the different sect or sleeper cells they have or other groupings they have, like Hezbollah or the rest?
Right.
I mean, that's possible. I mean, that's always how it, I mean, you see the same thing with the Saudis and the Pakistanis when we invest in it, they do the same thing, but that's just kind of, that's inevitable. That's how geopolitics.
Yeah. But again,
and I have to counter signal from another perspective, like your own libertarian perspective. Iran is in no position to do any sort of real trading with most nations because their economy is essentially run arbitrarily by a bunch of illiterate mullahs.
Yeah.
I mean, they are one of the largest,
one
of the largest exporters of foreign oil to the EU. I have the statistic right here. Hold on.
Yeah, but they're also a religious democracy, and they're more things than just economy.
Right.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's that they'll change their policy on the drop of a dime based on basically nothing but their own interpretation of Islam and the fact that they have no understanding of how real economies work. Their central bank has been printing money enormously since the 80s. They have regular hyperinflation. They are not a trade partner that can be relied on to have a stable economy, to even have, say, the capital or the trends to continue to have regular trade with. Like, you don't know when any of these you don't know when like the economy is going to change. It will change on the drop of a hat. You can't.
I'm not saying the U.S. will necessarily economically benefit from it. Like, I mean, I think that Iran would economically benefit more from trade with the U.S. But the thing is, this isn't only economic. It is also a matter of realpolitik in trying to move them away from the arms of China and Russia. So
well, see,
it's not just that. They don't function at all. They just don't function.
I actually think it seems to be driven by ancient ethnic hatred from the you-know-who. That's what all of this seems to be about.
It's not just that.
It's in part. There's always
I
an
don't
element
think
of
it's
that.
ethnic. It's
If-
ethnic.
I got to
hatred
drive home that it's the
Persians
fact that
and
the mullahs are
Jews.
incompetent.
The Persians and the Jews, like Israel and Persia, were very close allies up until the revolution in general. They would launch joint military operations. Iran, the Shah, funded, I think it was, what was it, which war was it? Which one of Israel's wars in the 50s or 60s?
Yes,
they were
but-
one of the largest investors.
But let me
into it.
stop you there for a second, Politicrat. What about all of the leadership of the Trump regime being fueled by this Judeo-Christian lunacy of rebuilding the first temple, of reclaiming?
Oh,
and
I
rebuilding
think
the
it's
first
fucking
temple?
stupid. First
Like,
of all,
it's
it's
psychotic.
theologically. It's
I don't believe in it
theologically
as
wrong.
much as some.
The church is. I mean, the church. Israel is the church.
Yep.
It's not the modern nation state of Israel, and that's what all is. Premillennial dispensationalism, which emerged in the 1800s, so with the Schofield Bible, and then also earlier with John Darby. A lot of it was it was a fringe theology, but then you had the British, so like the early Zionists, and then they were embedded within the imperial government of the British Empire in the late 1800s. They
And then after
basically
the Brother
took with
War
that, they
era,
didn't even
they-
believe it, but they took with that and ran and used it as a justification for imperialism in the Middle East.
Correct.
That ended up leading to the consequences of that, the creation of the State of Israel in 1947. And basically, premillennial dispensationalism is basically to trick the idiots into supporting these wars based on theologically incorrect interpretations of the. It's acceleration.
It was the moral majority
Acceleration,
of yesteryear before we had official moral majority in the 1970s.
I'm sorry. You cut out for a second.
I cut out.
Yeah, you cut out for a second. At least on my end.
Oh,
Hmm.
it didn't tell me that I did. I just was agreeing with you. I said, yes, it was the moral majority of yesteryear before the proper moral majority started in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah. All right. Well, I think you can move on from this topic personally, but
Sure, we can.
I'd just like to throw in. I think there's a lot of hyper focus on. We were talking about the economics of this. I think this is completely irrelevant to the Iranians and to the Jews. There's just no interplay with economics here. This is all ideological, both politically and religiously motivated. And you have to understand that the Soviet Union was dumping money in to Iran while we were dumping money into Iraq and Afghanistan. And that's something that there's a lot more at play than just a flat two-dimensional us versus them. And that's why, personally, I'm very ambivalent about the whole situation, because we're not going to get a good high resolution, because it's either U.S. Israeli propaganda or it's TASS propaganda, and none of that will give us a clear picture of what accelerated to this moment.
I mean, overall, like, all of this could have been avoided if they didn't coup the country in the first place.
Indeed.
Well, which
I mean,
time? That's the question. Are we talking
the coup with
1940 or 59?
The Shah. The coup with the Shah.
Yeah, I think that's what most people refer to when they mean cleaning up the American empire messes.
Exactly.
Right.
So, and as you mentioned, like, absolutely was Soviet influence, and a lot of communists, urban communists in Iran during the 70s. But the thing is, they didn't have much power. They were sectarian, like, multiple groupings. There were over 2,000 different communist political parties of the region. The Shah obviously focused on those groups because they were the immediate threat. Him giving the power to the religious leader was a way of counterbalancing the communists, but that just backfired on him. But overall, the Shah, such as the Shah today, are completely incompetent, and an American shell fully. Like, he cared more about American cars than he did Iran.
Well, yeah, but again, that's I think that's obfuscating the issue that we need to be addressing, is that this is not just the incompetence of both the U.S. State Department and the Shah, this has been a long-term play between ideological power players, and it's just shifted from the U.S. versus the Soviet Union to U.S. and Israel versus China, and kind of the Muslim Brotherhood too.
Yeah, sure, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, Iran has always been a key throughout a civilization, so they just want to control it, and they failed.
Yep. And hopefully they will continue to fail. I want the American machine to stop what it is, and I wish all of us and all of our countries the best in fighting against this Zionist global insanity, because it's bad for all of us, and it's only good for a certain few whites at the top and the Zionists. That's all that this shit is good for, and I hope that it ends. So let's leave it off there. That was a good talk. Thank you.
Wait, so I don't get an opinion?
Oh, I thought you talked plenty on this one. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, I kind of like signaled Pomen too, but
sure.
I think
I wasn't trying to cut you off. Go ahead.
All right, but I think it shouldn't be appreciated how the incompetence of the Islamic fundamentalism played a role in this too. The fact that they were their own sort of containment for Iranian independence. They get to be this boogeyman that is essentially the only enemy that the West has in that region, and then now they're being basically torn apart by, like you said, the American empire. Does say a lot.
They weren't the only boogeyman. I mean, again, Iraq, Libya, etc., throughout.
I know, but Iraq's been.
And again, as the statements or sort of commentary of the Israeli side.
I'm talking about internal politics,
but when this boogeyman is over, there will be a new boogeyman.
Of course,
it'll be Turkey or something. Yeah,
it will overwhelmingly likely be Turkey.
But yeah, their incompetence is obviously them being, too kind. Weirdly enough,
I'm trying to really make people realize how incompetent the mullahs really were. They make North Korea look competent. They're a bunch of. It is that bad.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about how
I knew
bad.
It was pretty bad. I didn't know it was worse than North Korea. Okay.
Yeah.
They can't even procure water. They're not fucking with you when they say that. They genuinely have destroyed all their agreements with other countries because they're that unstable that their economy is impossible to be relied on.
Their entire philosophy is also anti-Americanism.
It's also it's anti-Americanism and it's fundamentalist Islam in a weird interpretation that procures them even from engaging in self-defense with guns. And the mullahs had to have their arm twisted by the military to even allow them to have anything more than 17th century muskets.
The mullahs are too nice. They made the reason why they don't have nukes isn't because they can't do it. It's because they said they wouldn't do it.
Right. Didn't one of the Ayatollahs issue a fatwa against nuclear weapons?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that.
But sure, okay, yeah, absolutely. You can being a theocracy on Shia Islam.
I mean,
sure,
just
but
last
I mean,
year they had 1,000% hyperinflation.
Okay, and money and it doesn't matter. I mean, they have a goal in mind. And that's all they care about.
I mean, there's never any money in the economy, right? That's in private hands there, except for a small number of rich people that got along on the basis that they didn't have to pay into the sort of subsidy system as much as.
And why does it matter that private individuals have a lot of money there?
Because when it comes to that sort of elite teardown, it's always the high and the low versus the middle.
But there isn't an elite teardown. Like they're stable enough to survive American bombing for the moment.
Yeah, I wouldn't think
I get it. In an ideal world, they would just be complete morons, but they have defined themselves an enemy, which they're fighting against, and which was an enemy. So it's not just that they find a boogeyman.
Yeah.
Why would they be complete morons? I mean, there's plenty of history that would make them not morons, especially the time under the Shah.
The Shah was horrible with the secret police and the rest of them. But again,
yes.
I mean,
I'm not discounting that at all. I am trying to bring some under that they had a modern existence, and then they were brought backward by the incompetence of the mullahs.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the mullahs were put there by the West and Israel,
by the United States.
Yeah, literally.
I think that the entirety of the the Ayatollah Iranian regime thing that we have and have had for the last few decades. I think it was the American Zionist machine creating a boogeyman that they know would self-perpetuate for a while. That I like, from all that I've experienced as my life as an American, and now knowing what I know, it seems like that they created their own boogeyman on purpose just to have.
But again, of course,
Seems, or do you know that?
It's what it seems like. Because it's hard to know anything for sure when it comes to this stuff.
I mean, they're religious
we going-
fundamentalists.
And that's why I'm ambivalent, honestly.
Yeah.
There's just too many moving parts and too much. Everybody's playing at their own shadow game, and there's nothing of value to get in speculating, to me at least. It's like I want to understand it, and there's so many moving parts that
Okay,
I think conclusions
we gotta chill a little bit on this shit. I'm starting to detect schizo behavior here.
What?
Be offended if you have to be, but you need to speculate less.
Okay. Then let's just move on, because it's only been a week. All right.
I mean,
go ahead.
I'm a little bit concerned because all I see, because at the risk of like stepping on some people's toes here, I feel like we're going a little bit too far with the Xeon Dawn stuff, because
Really?
I don't. Yeah, really.
Okay.
I mean, I don't. I'm like, like we have the news section on our various discords that we're in, right? We have articles that give us information every single day that help us compare notes and put together an image of what we think is going on. Please don't take this the wrong way, but I have a very strict policy of only operating on things that I can cite and not just speculating on what the real, on like Trump being like, Trumpenstein and stuff like that. And like, I need more evidence of that. I need an expose on that before I really commit to that.
Yeah, I don't think anything we just talked about has anything to do with Trump. I think it has to do with what happened in the past before there even was a Trump presidency.
Yeah. I mean, I acknowledge that Israel dragged us into this because they started bombing it first. I acknowledge all that stuff. That's all factual information. That's all stuff I can just cite and say that actually happened, right? And then, fucking... even the fact that I'm seeing the chat say this stuff, and I was like, guys, slow down just a tad. Okay, it's fine that your gears are turning and that you're trying to figure this stuff out, but
if I may ask a question, then why this war? Why did this war start?
Well, I mean, I'll definitely agree with you that the reasons are deeper than just protests happened. It's an opportunity. Feel free to believe that it was because it was because of the recent actions, say stopping the tankers and whatnot, and making the system that was already brittle between our enemies basically broken. But what is the real reason why he's getting engaged in it? Probably because there's to be cynical. Saying it's just economic is cynical, right? There's always something bigger than that, like you were saying. The question is, what is that? What is that? Until we find out what that is, I can't speculate on that too much.
Yeah, and that's the issue with this war. What's the reason? And this is what everybody has an issue with. We don't know. So of course we're speculating, because there is no goal in this.
All right, I'll be a bit of a hypocrite here, and I think it revolves more around China. In a offside way, and a lot of people will object to this. However, my postulation is there were some news articles coming out of the EU about starting up more domestic production of air defense. And there's a part of me that looks at that little nugget and says, okay, is this to destabilize the BRICS economy from starting up as a parallel economy and keep the petrodollar in place? But more importantly, is this to force nations who have been far too comfortable in sucking at China's teat for all this time for cheap everything to reignite some part of their economy. Again, that's a wild speculation.
Yeah, we talked about that being a possibility last week on Beat of Britannia's channel when me and Furious Pertinax were on there. We talked about the non-Zionist angles to all of this. And I talked about how there were different factions, in the American deep state. It's not all just the Jews all the time. Obviously, there are a lot of people that want an American military hegemony for non-Zionist reasons. We have plenty of those people in the Pentagon and in Washington. But when it comes to this activity specifically, it seems to be overwhelmingly Zionist on both the non-Jewish Christian Zionist side in the White House, from Trump, from a bunch of people in the Pentagon, and of course the usual Zio shill squad in the media and everywhere else, and the Israeli faction that wants this to happen. Because obviously it's not everyone in Israel. A lot of people in Israel don't like this either. But my point is, we know that there are different elements and different could-bes. That's why I just wanted us to talk about it tonight. That's why I phrased the question I did, just to see what your guys' thoughts were. Because none of us have any answers. We can't know for sure. I just wanted to hear from Pomen, because he doesn't live in the United States. He lives far away. And, he's part of his country's part of the European Union. I just wanted to hear what he had to say and then hear what you guys had to say. So
what he seems to be saying is sensible so far.
Yeah, no, Pomen's a very sensible, stable guy. I like him. So let's go ahead and move on from that, because we spent like 30 minutes on that. We need to move on. We did have a very charitable paid chat come in over on Entropy from BattleCat. Thank you very much, BattleCat. You've been a longtime supporter of mine. BattleCat sends in $50. Thank you so much. And he says, yes, it might be a good time to stockpile a few essentials. Well, who are you talking to? I'm Appalachian. I got months of essentials stockpiled all the time. He said, here's a few dollary dues to that end. Or let's start the Patriot Picnic 2026 fund. Either way, some good will come of it. I always remind the boys at work, they hate us because they ain't us. One day I'll get to your lakeside get-together. Well, hopefully that will be this year. And if you can't, maybe next year, BattleCat. Thank you very much for the money, my friend. All right. And that is all the paid chats that we have. So let's go ahead and drop the banner and move back to the topics. We started with the Red Dragon, which was Fallout, which means it is time to move on to either immigrant fatigue, medical vampirism, corporate bullies, or anti-whiteism delinda est. Pomen, you're the party leader. What comes next?
Oh, the medical vampirism. Maybe that's a... okay.
It's a fun one.
Yeah, it could be a fun one. Let's take something a little, I think, lighter, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, it'll be lighter. All right. We move now to Sky News, of all places.
Oh my God.
For this article, it even has a vampire teeth picture. Look at that. Young blood, an elixir that prevents age-related diseases, study reveals. Blood factors obtained from young beings can improve late-life health in animals and put an end to age-related diseases. Blood taken from a young person could be the key to maintaining long-lasting health at old age, scientists claim. Some scientists. Blood factors obtained from young beings can improve late-life health in animals, a study published in Nature Journal reveals. It could also help reduce the chances of developing age-related diseases in humans, the scientists at University College of London say. Dame Linda Partridge, a geneticist at UCL, said that research shows young blood could allow humans to live life free of diseases such as cancer and heart disease up until their deaths. It's an interesting way to phrase that, because seeing as how on a long enough timeline, cancer and heart disease kills everyone. Okay, all right. Well, what else would kill them? Anyway, I would say, this is a quote from her, I would say aging is the emperor of all diseases, she told the Times. A lot of people regard aging as natural, and that therefore you shouldn't interfere with nature. But we've always considered it an ethical imperative to cure illness where we find it. Professor Partridge's analysis of data forms are part of a wave of studies and trials backed by PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel at a San Francisco startup called Ambrosia. The trial saw older adults injected with young blood, something that would cost around $8,000 US or 6,200 British pounds if rolled out to the public. Professor Partridge's study showed that older mice did not develop age-related diseases after being given young blood. The mice also maintained sharp cognitive function, while the younger ones, when given older blood, saw the opposite effect and became ill. The practical accessibility of both the human microbiome and blood system makes therapeutic manipulation a particularly attractive approach, but research in animals is needed to establish the long-term consequences and possible side effects. Blood is the most practically accessible and therefore most commonly investigated tissue, but is much less commonly used in animal studies. The trials by U.S. startup Ambrosia involved 70 participants, with all at least 35 years old. After being given plasma, the main component of blood, from volunteers ages 16 to 25, researchers noted improvements in biomarkers for various diseases. Ambrosia currently offers teenage blood to older customers at the cost of $8,000 USD for 2.5 liters. Meanwhile, another startup called Elevion believes a blood protein called GDF11 is the key ingredient. The company announced this week that it has $5.5 million of investment backing on this approach. Well, isn't that interesting? The Black with us tonight is powerful with necromancy. He turned to undeath many centuries ago, not just for power, but for immortality. While he did not choose vampirism as his preferred state of undeath, he is aware of many expressions of vampiric energy across the cosmos, and it's easy to liken the evil parasitic rulers of Earth to vampires already, even without their blatant examples such as this one. He chose this story tonight to ask us the cost-benefit analysis of technological advancement. And Pomen, I believe you chose the dragon, correct?
Yes, I did.
So this question comes to you first. Do you think some pursuits of technological advancement should be avoided for moral reasons? Or do you think, despite how dark some pursuits seem, they should still be considered?
I mean, no. I mean, gut reaction is obviously no, but at the same time, it's good to know. But I mean, the aspect of what they're talking about, the plasma injection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that was a while ago, even that they've been testing on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Horrible. But it's mostly the aspect is humans don't want to die, especially older people. That's why they...
Especially the old rich ones.
Yeah, especially old rich ones. But it's, accept their mortality. But the concern always is, and so I think the overall issue is constantly is we live in an imperfect world. And if something is, can be used for bad reasons, they will be used for bad reasons. But I mean, longevity of life and yes, with blood plasma, meaning just blood donation, isn't inherently bad, I guess. But it's, it's dirty. It sounds so dirty, all of this. It sounds hellish, all of this. But let the body be your body. Let you die when God says it's your time to go.
Mm-hmm. Now, you see, the reason I phrased the question this way is in the before time, you can go back 50 years, 100 years, 200, 300 years. There were moral issues with things as simple as antibiotics, with things as simple as, women receiving certain medicines for helping childbirth. So those were argued against on moral grounds as well, but they are a firm, steady part of medicine and what we consider normal treatment today. So that's why I wanted to ask this question, is to sort of expand our minds and talk about the topic.
Yes, but okay, so let's bring back to those points, as you said. All of those are also horrible. Antibiotics, while it's great in the short term, it most likely, if we don't find out the solutions, I always joke also that in my mind go, like, if you go back in time, I'll go back to the Roman time and teach them antibiotics. Okay, we all die. That's the end goal of it. We all will die because we will. The bacteria will adapt to the antibiotics, and a super disease will come, and we all die.
Yeah,
this has been the issue of majority of a lot of modern technology. You can say, horribly enough, like what's one of the worst things that we got? Fertilizer, like modern fertilizer, could be defined as horrible for humans. Obviously, no, of course not, because now we have a lot of people, a lot of growth. That's great. People don't have to die. People don't have to stop. Great, yes. But the issue with the current state of affairs is that we're accelerating to our own doom. and
Doom.
and in a sense, I mean, I wish we could control it all and not. That's kind of maybe why we shouldn't say don't do certain things, because we need to learn how to control it. But again, a stable society was the feudal society in a sense, and but I mean, we're screwed either way.
Good answer. Let's hear from somebody else on this one.
Yeah, I'm not so black. I'm absolutely disgusted by this specific company, but it definitely reminds me of my younger days when I used to look into, like, you know, how to live forever and stuff like that. You know, in the late 20 knots, when there were lots of shows on the Science Channel about this sort of thing, and that
I
made me
remember those. I watched a few. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's one about how to live to be 1,000 years old with Adam Savage. And the first thing that he talks about is blood transfusion. And it's not like it stops aging or anything. It doesn't make you stop aging, but by replacing your blood with blood that's literally a younger age and less genetically damaged, you your biomarkers significantly improve. It's nothing on the level of immortality in any way. It doesn't stop you from dying from anything. It just lets those years be better. And it's considered to be like the first step in that. And then he increasingly goes to things like brain replacement and replacing your body entirely and uploading your consciousness to a robot that has 8 arms and can essentially live forever. But, I mean, to stay focused on the question, like, there's many different ways to approach this. In fact, there's all sorts of sci-fi about this, how entire civilizations get fractured based on what choices they make, on whether or not they're going to respect the physiology of their own body and just accept mortality, or are they going to use increasing ways to obfuscate themselves from their original physical existence. I mean, Endless Space is about the battle of the endless, and half of them are the concrete endless, and the other half are the virtual endless. The concretes live in like robotic bodies, while the virtuals literally live in the internet that is multi-galaxies wide, and they basically come to religious differences over it and wipe each other out. And then all the different like races that are in the actual games are child races of the endless that were either, some of them completely genetically formed from nothing, like the Cravers, and others that were basically came into relevance because their host race died off, like the automatons. And there's so many ways to skin this cat. Exactly, you wouldn't even want to be an eternal boomer, because that's also the plot of the second Horizon game. Horizon Forbidden West is literally about
that.
Yeah, Far Zenith is literally the eternal boomer, because they were all so like had such fuck you money that they bought a starship that didn't work, fixed it, made it work, managed to like stage a fake failure of it if it exploding. They go to Cygnus, literally form a new society there, but because they're all Dark Triad egomaniacs, they have a dystopian society. They eventually come back to Earth, and it's only to use it as a distraction for the Nemesis AI that they created out of their own consciousnesses.
Oh, no.
It's even worse than they are. And like, they're eternal boomers. They're useless at everything. They have shield technology that makes them invincible, and yet they still all die off because they're retarded.
That's funny.
They're eternal boomers.
So I know that you like science fiction and transhumanism and stuff. I know that you like that kind of stuff, like I do.
Yeah,
so,
but responsible version of it.
Yeah, that's where I'm going with that. Is you and I, though, we don't look at it from like a leftoid gay race communism stuff. We look at it as more of a what can human potential actually become? And so with that in mind, and the question presented here, do you think that we should explore all avenues of science, even if there is a notable moral reason in society currently to not pursue those things, just to see what comes? Or do you think there are some things that we should just never look into, like time travel, for example?
The way I see it is that the knowledge itself is neutral. I mean, this is one of the things that like the Jedi Order was wrong about, even that's completely fiction, but still the messages are there. You don't make information you don't make knowledge forbidden, because then people go out and seek it, and then they don't have, say, the guidance of the responsible people in order to implement it correctly. They get corrupted and deformed. You don't just reinvent the wheel on your own like a leftist.
Mhm.
You have to have a society that has touchstones and culture and wisdom to guide that towards responsible use. And that's the problem. The corporations just don't have that. They're operating under the dumb gay race communism, or at the very least atheist Redditism that just, again, has no wisdom behind it. So what do they use it for? Profit. They use it for profit. They use it to turn human beings into economic units that they carve out by selling their data, selling them things that they don't need, and then further down the line, selling them things that hurt them so that they can profit off of that too. Like
Yep.
the GP1 is a perfect example of this, and they've dragged the most unscrupulous of celebrities into shilling it for them, like Serena Williams and what's his name, DJ Khaled. Like, you think those people are even vaguely like decent people? No, they're horrible people. They don't care. They're just profiting off of it too. The way that technology has been slowly, like, almost like from 2000 onwards, almost exactly, in the way that it has gone from being a really useful, that electronics have gone from this really useful thing that we're continuously improving and becoming more usable. And there was that moment, that we all noticed that when the stuff in our lives stopped being useful and started becoming tools that hurt us. Like the fact that, I pick up my phone, right? My Android phone that used to be something I loved using because it was so efficient, and it was a point where they were really getting it super useful. And like, I use Nova Launcher, and Nova Launcher has ads in it now. Injecting ads into the basic aspects of the OS of my phone.
Yep.
And it's just like, Jesus. So the developer cucked out, or he probably sold it to equity or whatever, right? And then they just started fucking with it.
Probably.
Now, the whole point of Nova Launcher is that it's faster and lighter weight than most launchers, so that it makes your phone using your phone easier. And now it has to load ads from the internet in order for me to do that, which is slowing the whole thing down slower than stock launchers. So it's like, yeah, this is what the point I'm trying to make. It's that technology, when it's just completely forgets the point of what it's doing, and when people use it as to just fuck with you, it no longer becomes helpful. The people doing responsible things with technology is what's important. Technology can be a good thing, or literally every bit of technology can be bad if used the wrong way.
Okay.
Oh, how about you buy the spear that has arrowheads on both sides? Gory. Stab yourself while you stab your enemy.
That was a good long answer. Politicrat, Bleach Demon, what do you guys think?
I don't know. This isn't really my area of expertise. So all I'll say is my opinion. So we can't live forever. I think it's biologically impossible. It's also a violation of natural law. I think
Amen.
the consciousness to a computer is interesting. However, then you get into sort of metaphysical debates. Is that the same thing as the soul? If your consciousness is uploaded and you die, is your soul somewhere else while your consciousness is in a cloud or something? And then, but in terms of my position, it would be nice to live to like 200, but like after that, I'm done. I would never want to be immortal.
Amen. Yep.
That's the consensus that a lot of people come to, because the human brain is actually capable of about 175 to 200 years worth of memories before it's completely full. For some reason, the human brain is capable of that capacity, even though it's seemingly really unlikely that any human being on Earth would live that long, even under, say, the most natural conditions. It just doesn't seem likely. So but at that point, you'd have to consider some kind of physical, some sort of physical complete change to the physiological state of humans, so that you can actually store more memories.
I just don't want to pay for taxes that damn long.
Well, if you're 200 years old, you're probably a vampire that doesn't pay taxes at all.
You never know. I'm sure they'd tax Vlad if they could. My personal opinion is there are absolutely limits to where we should go, because until the individuals actually doing the development are moral actors themselves, we're just going down the mad scientist. The cliche 1950s black and white schlock, mad scientist movie where they're just got Jan the brain in the pan kind of situation. I think that's going to open the doors to horrors beyond comprehension. When we have MAID becoming such a popular thing forced by the government, when you have more people becoming state property, which that's my opinion on nationalized healthcare, that not only are we going to be commoditized for our views, but then we're just going to become organ harvesting, platforms. Oh, well, you can replace your liver with, liver 9,000. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go down that road. I have actively thought on this for years of I'm going to be the last as intact human as possible, to the point where I don't do organ donation. I don't consider that at all. I'm dying intact. And
Same.
with the exception of like my appendix and wisdom teeth, everything else is mine. That's my ethics, and everything else can just rot.
Yeah. And I don't knock anybody who does that. I really don't, because a lot of our living is already so artificial and full of let alone the poison, but even just when things are ideal, we are so artificially inflated as a biological organism. We're not biologically engineered for this lifestyle. We just aren't.
Look at DK. It's over 9,000. And also, I don't want to step over this. Bleach Demon, I deeply appreciate your deep cut old school MST3K reference with Jan in the Pan. I appreciate that.
Hey, that's my life, and it's every night I watch some episode of that.
Yeah, me too. That's one of mine and my best friend husband guy's favorite things to just keep on while we do stuff is there's an MST3K app that we use that has basically every original episode on it. And season 6 through 10 with once Mike comes aboard. Yeah, that's basically the sweet spot of the best MST. So we listen to those all the time. And one of the first ones Mike was on, if it's not the first, after Mitchell, it's one of the ones immediately after Mike became a main voice, was the brain that wouldn't die, old Jan in the Pan.
I'm glad somebody caught that too.
I didn't want to let that go unnoticed and unappreciated. So before we move on, let's move over to Subscribestar, because Dissident Knight actually gave me $20. Thank you for the tip over on Subscribestar, Dissident Knight. He says, we want to stop the disease of aging. Won't be surprised if lobster DNA gets brought in on this one since they live so long. I'm calling the street shark-esque lobster men right now.
Yeah, telomere regeneration and stuff like that.
Let me log into Buy Me a Coffee. I forgot to fire that up because it's new. I just started that one because some people wanted to use it. So let me make sure I'm not missing anything over on Buy Me a Coffee. Let's see here. Nope, still the same ones that it was last week. All right, very good. Okay, let's go ahead now and drop this banner here and go back to the topics. We've covered 2 dragons already, which leaves 3 more. It's anti-whiteism, Delinda-esque, corporate bullies, and immigrant fatigue. Pomen, you're the party leader. Would you like to choose the next dragon or nominate a party member to choose the next one?
Well, let's get Politicrat out there and talk a bit more.
Sure. Balls in your court, Politicrat. Which would you like to do next?
Let's do corporate bullies.
Okay. The blue dragon.
I was thinking that one too.
Yeah, this will be fun. This is a good one. It's not very political at all. So that's good. All right. We move now to this article is from several months ago, but I just watched a video on Gamer Nexus, courtesy 3 of 12 here, who got me into that. That was about something that happened within the last 6 to 8 months. So we will be taking a look at this. Sega accused of using police to recover Nintendo dev kits it negligently disposed of. Now, 3 of 12, go ahead and get that since you have a wrench in the YouTube chat. Grab that link to that excellent Gamer Nexus video that you had me watch and share that in the chat for me. I want everyone to have that link.
Okie doke.
While I read the article. Thank you. Earlier this year, we reported on a fundraising drive by the nonprofit preservation group Video Game Preservation Museum. to save a collection of undumped GBA, DS, DSi, and 3DS games that were at the risk of falling into the hands of private collectors. This haul of games included prototypes of titles such as Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, Sonic Generations, Mario and Sonic at the Winter Olympics, Phantasy Star Zero, Alien Infestation, Shinobi, and most exciting of all, an unreleased Nintendo DS version of Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure. In July of last year, things took a turn for the worse when it was reported that the seller of this collection was raided by the British police and his haul was seized. Time Extension can now reveal that this rumor was true and that Sega was indeed involved with the process. The seller, who wishes to remain anonymous until the Gamer Nexus video came out, obtained the collection as part of his business. I've been running an online resale business for years, specializing in used electronics, whether fully working or sold for spares and repairs. My stock typically comes from office clearances, house clearances, recycling centers, and scrap yards. And then here's a picture of said devices. I'll pop it open so you can see it here. Well, actually, that just goes to Twitter. Forget that. Here's a good picture. There you can see the test carts there. All right. During a visit to one of his regular scrapyard contacts, a removals worker arrived with a van load of items that had reportedly come from Sega's office clearance, because Sega has an office in London. The company recently relocated its UK office from Brentford to the nearby Cheswick Business Park. Alongside sofas, fridges, and other office furniture, it would appear that a large number of development consoles were present. I agreed a deal to purchase the consoles with the intention of reselling them online, exactly as I have done with countless other items over the past decade. He paid around £10,000 for the lot. The seller claims that around a month before the raid, a private investigator, later revealed to be acting on behalf of Sega, approached him pretending to be a prospective buyer. On 14th of July, 2025, the seller's home was raided and he was arrested. This took place around 3 months after the purchase of the items. I was awoken at 7:30 by a loud knock at my door, the seller tells us when asked to recount the day of the raid. When I opened, I was met by approximately 10 officers from City of London Police. They informed me that I was under arrest for money laundering, of all things, and that they were there to seize the development kits and game cartridges. During the interview, the seller asked the officers whether the issue was that Sega had disposed of these goods and later regretted it, or whether they were alleging the items had been physically removed from Sega without permission. According to the seller, one of the officers' body language shifted immediately. He almost scoffed, as if he was surprised I would raise such a distinction. That moment confirmed to me that the legal basis of the raid was deeply uncertain and that I would need to investigate further. And that did happen, and we will leave that off with the video that 3 of 12 shared. That is an hour-long video about all of this, and it just came out a few days ago. So I highly recommend, if this is interesting to you, go look at that. Gamers Nexus does fantastic work. So let's go ahead, for sake of time now, and move to the Blue Dragon, which is this spiky gentleman. The Blue with us tonight is an arcane engineer who specializes in Meditech defensive systems, and he appreciates how warlike the humans of Earth are, which is what led him to study our technology. However, it seems our world has experienced rapid technological advancement, unlike any that he has studied before. So he's curious. The question comes to you first, Politicrat. Despite its many shortcomings, do you think government is a necessary barrier between consumer and corporation? Why or why not?
Again, you know my economics. I do not. I think that generally when the government interferes in the market, it is a net negative. And ultimately, one of the things is, there's a lot of misconceptions about what monopolies are. People basically say all the time, oh, yeah, no, we need the government to trust. But first of all, like trust busting, it did work back in the early 1900s under Teddy Roosevelt. But more or less, trust, like most antitrust laws, are outdated today and would not practically work in the same way because, again, we live in a different economic landscape. And in addition to that, going back to what I was just saying about about monopolies, natural monopolies do not last long. Natural monopolies are very rare and usually emerge when there is like only one person innovate or one company innovating and on one product, or they end up buying multiple. It's I'm trying to find the best way to explain this. They're naturally emergent. However, competition ultimately ends up destroying that monopoly on its own. But most monopolies, or at least the ones that people complain about that have existed for a while. So monopolies, oligopolies, and monopsonies. Monopsony is when there is one seller or when there is one buyer. So that would be like defense contracts, when the government's, again, contracting, building weapons and stuff. But so, yeah, the government ultimately ends up creating these monopolies through legislation or through the creation of regulations. In fact, there are a lot of, if you go back to the Mike Zuckerberg hearing, if you remember that, when he was acting like an alien, I think was this 2018, 2019, he was enthusiastically saying, oh yeah, Facebook welcomes regulation. And people were like, oh, good, Mark Zuckerberg now wants to regulate Facebook. No, that's not a good thing. That's going to create the exact same kind of monopolies that they are against. They lobby for regulations because a lot of these regulations make it more difficult for smaller startup companies.
Right. It's an almost insurmountable barrier to entry. For most people.
Exactly. I mean, it's self-defeating a lot of the times. Now, I'm not going to say that now consumer protection, that's a different thing that we can have a discussion on. There are solid arguments for solid
that's sort
arguments.
of what I was getting at here, because
okay.
in the story here, you had the City of London police being influenced and leaned on by a corporation to drum up a fake dummy charge of money laundering just to go get that equipment back that someone at the Sega office screwed up and threw out with the trash when they were moving.
That's essentially that's kind of like rent seeking, more or less. Yeah, I mean, they're lobbying to the government to do things for them, or it's like an I scratch your back, you scratch mine type deal. Is quid pro quo. When you have a government that is regulating the economy or getting involved, ultimately what it ends up doing is the lines between state and the private sector blur. And
which is what we've seen in our
civilization. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
Okay, who wants to take this next?
Oh, I'd like to take this next.
Go ahead.
I think we're pretty aligned. I'm pretty aligned with Politicrat on the lack of necessity of government for intervention when it comes to the consumer and the corporation. Because, like he said, when things were a bit simpler and the evolutionary war between the laws and the corporations getting around the laws wasn't as hyper competitive. Yeah, basic trust busting stuff worked maybe to some degree back then, but ever since Microsoft 2003, it just hasn't worked at all. Actual monopolies can exist, and they just get around the law by essentially paying off everyone involved, and they do just take the money, and it's not even that much money. The tiny sums that some politicians have taken to completely betray their country is mind-boggling. Usually only in the tens of thousands of dollars. I'd say that the real answer is consumer advocacy groups, and the Gamers Nexus is doing the good work by being essentially an objective, essentially entirely voluntary authority on the subject, where basically they give you advice on the subject, they keep you aware of things, and they don't try to tell you how to think. They just give you warnings about things happening. That's the real purpose of journalism in its entirety. They're not supposed to tell you how to think. They're supposed to warn you about things so that you can compare notes. They're supposed to tell you things that are happening so that you can come to your own conclusions. And although even Gamers Nexus isn't immune to having biases, I can simply just take their facts, come to my own conclusions. There's nothing more to it because they're not some kind of they're not some kind of rooted fourth estate that can literally force me to accept things or use like the sort of media whirlpool in order to create its entire own reality that overrides what's actually happening by people never going outside. And that's why I appreciate this. Like, it shows that this system can work. And all it needs is basically to have no hands on the industry itself. It needs to be completely have no conflict of interest whatsoever, except for the actual interest of making consumer environment better, because they're also enthusiasts. Like Gamers Nexus does overclocking streams. They use liquid nitrogen, and they're just as into it as we are. They're basically just consumers.
Yeah.
So if I may then play the other side's advocate, what Tucker, it was weird enough. I think Tucker Carlson recently had a podcast talking about the free. I haven't seen it. I don't watch Tucker, but I've seen a clip. That's like, what's the point of the free market? And it goes into that. So obviously, in a perfect world where we all run on sort of Austrian economics, yada 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 yada, with no enemies, perfect. Yeah, that would be perfect. But the thing becomes, what's the point? So, for example, if the point is the betterment of the people, how can you then have rampant free market capitalism? Because corporations will go then, or counter-signal, or go against the people's interest. Obviously, not like, well, state-run communism or anything of that sort. State-run economies doesn't inherently help the people either, because the state doesn't know. It's just bureaucrats. It's like, yeah, sure, of course. But what is corporate? It's really hard, because it's all about if I go into the tech side of things, I always like to talk about the CEO, sort of CEO leader of a nation, where they say the CEO does have more interest in both nation and people overall than a bureaucrat would, because he is smarter and better than others. But that's not really the case. It's a romantic vision of an autocrat that the tech bros of Silicon Valley have recently gone up with. I forgot his name in my head, but I made a video about it recently. Not Nick Land, but the other people.
Peter Thiel?
Peter Thiel, and another guy too, of an NRX person.
Curtis Yarvin?
Yarvin, yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't agree with their argumentation, because their argumentation is self-serving, and the ego shouldn't be above the collective in that sense. But, what's the end goal? It becomes like, what's the end of an economy? What's the end goal of things? And if your end goal is some sort of utopic concept, or then, yeah, state control and government control is necessary. Or if the point is like the health of the people and the well-being of the people, then state control is necessary. For example, in Sweden, up to the 70s, we had state-run government, like state-run economy, nearly completely, until we had to liberalize in the 70s because it became too expensive. But then the point of it, like, why does the nation or state controls the majority of our industries? Well, because we're using the wealth of those industries to assist our people by giving them cheap housing, by giving them gymnastics, and ensuring their health, ensuring that they can have children, ensuring an increase in IQ, etc., etc. But obviously, the issue is that's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't work in the long run. It never does work in the long run. It's a big issue with this. There's no solution to this issue. But my point being, anyone who says full free market because that's the best and most efficient way, which I actually, for the most part, agree. But to what end is the other question.
Bleach Demon, do you have anything on this?
Yeah, I'm more in Pomen's camp. I think once we start getting economies larger than a kind of local area, depending on anything other than some sort of third-party intervention, is asking for all sorts of trouble. Unfortunately, corporations will always want to cut a corner. And normally I don't care, but when it starts getting into layers of accountability, that's where I think the government intervention is somewhat necessary.
Yeah.
And do I want them regulated? I want far less regulation, especially when it comes to corporate licensing for startups. But that's more of a play towards this Keynesian economic model than that we're following,
Yes.
rather than
Yeah,
the actual
precisely.
corporate structure that we need to address.
But that's why I kind of want to also put that question to the Mises guy in here on the why, like what's the end goal question.
And I will let him in.
The Politicrat.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. What was your question?
What's the end goal of things? Like when it comes to economy, like free market, but to what end? If you listen to what I was ranting about before.
So I do. So I understand that. So I one thing I do not like about certain modern free market ideology. So this isn't so much Austrian. This is more of like the neoclassical sort of mainstream idea that economic growth at all costs. And yes, the economy does have to constantly grow. However, I think one of the biggest issues, basically, the number one metric for national health in this paradigm is treated as GDP. And it's not, there's no metric for civilizational or cultural health.
Right.
There's no. So I think a lot of times, so capitalism, of course, is not an ideology as much as the left likes to frame it as. Socialism is both an ideology and an economic system. Capitalism is really just the spontaneous fluctuation and readjustment and of markets and market activity. So yeah, it's just the natural state, but at least in the West. But so
Capitalism is also a Marxist word anyway.
yeah, it is. Exactly. And besides, even when Marx used the term capitalism, and so this is why when people of different ideologies, people who are pro-market, whether they're right-wing, center left, whatever, but regardless of to what varying degree it is, when they're quote-unquote defending capitalism, they're talking around, them and the socialists are talking around each other, because when Marx was describing with capitalism is essentially what Adam Smith was describing when he was discussing mercantilism.
Right.
And nobody seems to understand that new. It's again, people are talking past each other when they're having these debates. And people seem to forget that Marx wrote an entire essay praising the entrepreneurial class, the capitalist class, for innovation, for leading out of feudalism. And yeah, so a lot of socialists today are just, I mean, I actually think all socialists are bad socialists.
It's almost like it's almost like useful idiots are idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about leaving feudalism is a good point to segue into what I had prepared to say on this. When you look
I do want to say real quick, who is it?
Go ahead.
Vinctor just said capitalism requires liberalism. There's a need for private property. Yes, liberalism is the ideology. Capitalism is the system.
Right.
So.
Yes.
What I wanted to talk about with all of this, Pomen addressed some of what I wanted to say, is I think that the concept of government, I think, is a necessary evil with scaling. Because when you have technology that scales to allow people to instantly or rapidly travel and communicate across vast distances, and technologies that allow for populations in the millions and billions, the older, more rudimentary and personal models of making things work fall to the wayside and don't function. Like we talk about all the time, systems and most things are not infinitely scalable. If you look at, go back 1,000, 2,000 years, when populations were tiny, remote, not interconnected, you didn't necessarily need bureaucracies and governments and regulations to have some measure of protection. You had feudal lords, you had kings, you had despots. What did they need? They needed territory. They needed peasants to farm, to make your beets and your rice and your grain and all that bullshit. And they had to protect those holdings. Well, as shipping and technology and conquest and imperialism and all these other things eventually led to the world we have now, that natural symbiosis of ruler and ruled went out the window. Now, we can all talk about, how purposeful that was by greedy oligarchs wanting to get rid of aristocracy and all that stuff we all know about. But the way that it all ended up is you have to have something that protects the things you care about as peasants. And most of us are always peasants. And so you have things like town watches, local governments, barristers, people that that understand the locals and will legally and financially go to bat for them and their interests because they have families. They have ethnic and religious investment in those things. And so the larger entities are governments, corporations, mercantile trade, shipping conglomerates, things like that. Those people are inherently impersonal and inhuman. And again, I'm saying this from a neutral standpoint. They exist as a system to exploit weaknesses to maximize gains. That's what they exist for. So a natural resistance to that are things like governments and advocacy groups. And those things start to become a little impersonal because you can't scale the personal infinitely. When you live in a country like the United States that has like at least 100 million legal people who should be here and like at least another 100 or 200 million people who shouldn't be here, there's no way to have local feudal lords and natural community resistances to these impossible to understand massive giants that want to use you to harvest data, to sometimes literally harvest your biomass, to harvest your labor for whatever purposes we don't know what our tax money is being used for. This is why I think that no matter how idyllic we want to think of things in a liberal or libertarian lens, government is sort of a natural human expression. We want there to be an organized group of competent men to protect us from other men who want to exploit us, our families, our communities, and our young ones. So this is why I think that you always need, whatever that spot is in government, you have to have something in that spot to protect you from organized profiteering people who seek to exploit you for whatever reason. That's why I think we will always have to have something in that government slot, whatever it is in the future. That's my take on it, of why we have to have something like that, whatever you want to call it. What do you guys agree with me? What do you think about what I just said?
Oh, that's the ultimate conclusion you have to come to if you want a stable society of any scale other than a local community. Otherwise, you're just asking for idiots to take advantage and exploit you like a Indian call center.
Yeah. Everyone has to be like you. You have to all be in agreement.
At least on some basics.
Right.
Not
like
necessarily everything. But.
That's where like the line where the live and let live thing comes in, where it's like, yeah, I know that you have my values, so I won't bicker with you on the little things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Trust, more or less.
Yes, high trust. And like Ardent said in chat, yes, it's a craving of order, some type of homeostasis around you. Yes, definitely. All right, then. That was a good conversation. I'm glad that we had it. So let's move back to the topics and bid the Blue Dragon adieu. We had no paid chats that came in, so we can just keep moving. We did the blue, which means we now have immigrant fatigue and anti-whiteism delenda est. Pomen, you're the leader. You can either choose or have someone else choose.
Let's get Bleach Demon to choose.
Oh, well, then I feel very fatigued.
Is it immigrant fatigue time then?
Indeed.
All right, that would be the Green Dragon. Now, I don't usually use this site, but I rather liked this article. Let's go to Revolver. Many of you might remember this. This was in the news a few years ago, and I don't remember if I covered this specifically on Discordant Dragons, but I think I talked about this case at one point in the past. Anyway, he killed 16 people, and now Canadians and the media are begging the government not to deport him. Back in 2018, a sleepy little Canadian community was shattered into a million pieces. A truck driver blew through a stop sign and slammed into a bus carrying the Humboldt Broncos junior hockey team. 16 people were killed. Most of them were teenage boys from a small town where everyone knew each other. As you can imagine, families were torn apart and a community was left grieving with a nightmare. The driver, an Indian named impronounceable Hindu gibberish, was convicted and served prison time for the crash. Now, several years later, Canadian authorities are moving forward with deportation proceedings. Now, you'd think that'd be the end of the horror story, right? Well, wrong. Instead of this guy getting a firm kick out the door, a shocking number of left-wingers in Canada's mainstream press are lobbying hard to let him stay. The backlash online has been brutal, especially as more Canadians realize just how hardcore parts of the media are pushing the plan. National Post, of course, along with many other anti-white outlets, have created sympathetic pieces for this guy. It all gets worse, says the article, because when you actually read what some of these media nut jobs are arguing, your jaw might hit the floor. Some Canadian commenters are literally urging the government to stop the deportation process. Their push begins by reframing the tragedy in shockingly soft terms. Here's a quote from the National Post. The 2018 crash involving the Broncos is one of the most devastating tragedies in recent Canadian history. 16 people lost their lives. Families were forever changed. Nothing can diminish this loss, but the fact remains that it was an accident caused when a truck driver drove through a stop sign at a dangerous intersection. Who among us can say that we've never done anything similar? That line has so many people seeing red, because blowing through a stop sign in your neighborhood isn't the same thing as plowing into a bus full of kids. Treating those two like they're the same is cruel and absurd. The article then goes really heavy into the idea that the Indian had already done everything the system asked from him. The National Post continues with saying the truck driver did everything asked of a defendant who runs afoul of the law. He cooperated to spare the families the ordeal of a trial. He immediately pled guilty. He accepted responsibility, even though numerous other factors contributed to the incident. The article says, yeah, well, who cares if he cooperated? Those kids are still dead. When 16 people are dead, is checking all the right legal boxes what this is about? No. The argument now, the article shifts from a legal argument to moral argument. The National Post says, but for us as Canadians, the real question should be a moral one. What kind of country do we want? A nation that is punitive, vengeful, and mean-spirited? It already is versus white people. Or a country that can demonstrate mercy, compassion, and forgiveness, but only to the foreigner. As you can see, this is where the emotional blackmail kicks in. They are weaponizing white guilt. The media is basically telling grieving families that enforcing immigration law makes the country and them mean-spirited. This is, of course, where the white guilt and the anti-whiteism comes into play. So I thought this was an interesting article, but now let's talk about it. Let's move to the Green Dragon. The green with us tonight is known as an Earth Mother, a dragon with great nature magic who can speak to the spirits of the land. She enjoys using her magic to learn of human civilizations and provide counsel, which is what led her to us tonight. She chose this story to ask us this, and Bleach Demon, it comes to you first. Do you think the natural emotion of ethnic unity awakening in whites will overcome the unnatural emotions of the anti-white propaganda narrative? Why or why not?
Oh, this is a very excellent and pointed question.
Thank you.
Think ultimately it will. However, there's going to be a requirement for more of these horrors of the jingle truck drivers mass slaughtering those around us. I speak from personal experience just a few days ago, watching a jingle truck driver with his both legs on the dashboard driving. It was ridiculous. I think what we really need to focus on is the degradation of our culture and society in terms that the normies will understand. And I've long been an advocate of softening the blow, softening the blunt nature of what's going on, so the normies will start buying into it and getting over this absolute, oh, you're a racist, you're a bigot narrative that we saw in those articles here. And it's going to take a long-term project. This is something where we need to look at planting the seeds now for the next generation to start seeing the shoots grow up. And personally, I want this done overnight. Absolutely. But we didn't get here in one generation. We got here in 100 years of propaganda, 100 years of undermining what a white European-based civilization looks like. And until we start crystallizing that in a palatable way, using a lot of the same outlets that have been used against us, we're just going to be throwing ourselves against the wall.
And I think we've seen that start. Like
Yes.
you've got the good people in the white well-being community pushing the Go Free lexicon that's had a lot of success. You have groups like the Old Glory Club who are actually taking their ethnic identity and making something real out of it to affect real change at the legal level, at the university level, at the charity and public acts level. And you've got a lot of good things going on right now that aren't just your typical online shrieking wignat about white identity.
Exactly.
People who are actually leaning into their real ethnic identity, because the racial identity is only skin deep. Literally, it's the genetic substrate of civilization we all share. But what people will invest in and defend is ethnic identity, being an American, being a Swede, being a Canadian, being a Frenchman, things like that. And we're starting to see a lot of that start to boil to the surface, and righteously so. And so I'm glad that we agree on that. I think that's a good thing, and I think that's what we see happening.
Absolutely, and I think it's just something where, will it overcome this? Yes, but we need to use these tools that we've been given by these great organizations you've already mentioned in ways that we start implementing these into conversations with the normies around us.
Oh, 100%. Well, I used to Go Free lexicon all the time, every day with everyone.
Mhm.
Like it's good. Like if something's nasty on TV, I don't get into the particulars. I don't say like, oh, there's a Jew behind that. No, I just say, man, I'm sick of all this anti-white shit on TV, aren't you? And like everyone always says, yeah, it's sickening. I hate it. Like little things like that, just planting the seed.
So I will cede the floor after that, but I think we're on the start of the right path.
Go ahead. Who's next?
Has anybody seen the low cortisol Uma Musume memes? Because they're pretty relevant for that. It's getting to the point.
I didn't even really understand what you said. The what memes?
Okay, there's this meme that's going around about how people who practice steps to engage to lower their cortisol are better than these stressed out people who are constantly freaking out over things they can't control. And I think that has a lot of alignment with the Going Free method. It's really important that you just live your life, notice the things that are bad for you, avoid them, and live the healthiest that you can. You can't let every small thing stress you out. I think that's the way towards. It's the chat understands. I think that's the main way to obtain ethnic unity. At least that's the first step towards it. You have to secure and fortify, like I saw recently, some people saying, don't man up, fortify. You need to fortify yourself so that you can be a part of your community. Also, you got to fix your Wi-Fi, man. Oh, wait, that's how you fix it. Wi-Fi, man.
No. Politicrat told us in private chat he had to step away for just a minute. He's back.
Oh. Okay,
No, I just
apologize then.
stepped away for a minute.
Yeah. I apologize then. But yes, this is my answer to the question. You have to fortify oneself. You have to be healthier, do healthy things, cook for yourself, get outside, breathe that clean air while it's still clean. I mean, after all, like the Potomac's ruined, but whatever. But you get my point, right? You can fight propaganda much more easily if you are not constantly emotionally frazzled. You just calmly see it, dismiss it, and then go back to your life.
Indeed.
Yeah. Anybody else want to go?
Yeah, sure. Somebody else grab it. Pomen, perhaps?
Yeah, I don't really know what to say per se. Like
Okay.
in one sense, the more localism, I guess, local mentalities are coming back, also because of the death of the golden age of the internet. It's not as easy anymore. It's a lot of, I won't say regulations, just corrupt. Same thing with Gates. Everything is just corrupted. So you're not as free as you once were to have online friends, for example, which does increase the want of having a local community. because people seek community no matter what. But yeah, I don't know how much of it is in the sense of a racial thing or like over just shared cultural norms. But it also depends on how far people go. Like there are, as you mentioned, the more active activist groups or like political groups. Sure, but that's no one goes that far really. It's a step beyond. And sure, we have those like, oh, let's create white villages. It's like, okay, you're fringe. And it's always going to be only like 200 guys, so maximum, which is like, okay, cool for you. But it's not the average people. It's not the average person. But I do think, again, a little bit more localism, a little bit more focus on local community has increased as of late.
It definitely seems that way everywhere that I visit and what I learn. So I'm glad to hear that you see that too over there. Well, it seems like everybody has talked what they have to say on that, and I've spoken my piece on it too. So for sake of time, let's just move on, because we still have one dragon left for the evening, and that would be this one. The white dragon, I think, is the one that's left, right? Yeah, the white dragon's the only one left. Now, this one is unfortunately about my state, Tennessee. Well, not just about it, but it has to do with some rather frustrating policies that went through in my state and several others. So it's the last dragon of the night, so there's no choice to take it. So does anyone want to volunteer to be the first one to respond to the dragon's question?
I can do that.
All right. Then what we will do is we are going to watch this video here. Now, prepare your puke buckets, because this will make you, especially if you're an American, this will make you sick. But let me make sure that this is piped in. Come on, StreamYard. Why are you not? Do you not work anymore? Okay, no, it finally took. It finally took. There it goes. Okay. All right.
StreamYard working, impossible.
Yeah, technology working, impossible. All right. Let's go ahead and look at this real quick, or listen to this.
Comedian.
All right. Let me boost the volume a little bit. Turn on my volume booster. There we go.
We've lost before.
Whoa, that's too much. Whoa, that's way too much. Let's turn that off.
Loud Jews.
Your draft. We've lost before. The Brandeis Center drafted, I think, the first state IRA bill was in Virginia a number of years ago. It was unsuccessful. We worked on the second one. That was in Tennessee. It was unsuccessful. Then we're in South Carolina. That was the first success. And we thank Christians United for Israel, American Jewish Committee.
I'll pause it there. The legislation that he just mentioned in Tennessee, we actually celebrated on this channel when Tennessee legislators fought against and shut down anti-Semitism hate speech laws here. But unfortunately,
some other groups are helping us make that successful. We've now got 2/3 of the states have passed the state IRA bills, and many more are working on it. Just within the last month, the Rhode Island House introduced it, Missouri House passed it, Wisconsin House passed it, the Ohio Senate was voting and I think passed it yesterday. Arizona House has passed it. So we've already got 2/3 of the states. I didn't think that was going to happen. And Virginia, where it hadn't passed, has now passed it. Tennessee, where it hadn't passed, has now passed it. So we are going to win. It's not going to be instantaneous. We're not going to win every battle, but we are going to win the war. And the most important part right now of this battle is the federal. So we are absolutely delighted that all of you are here focusing on this, including especially those of you who have perhaps a voice and an ability.
So just so you know what's going on here. This is Zionist lawfare actor Kenneth Marcus, and of the Louis D. Brandeis Center. He says explicitly at a congressional briefing that he's working for the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism to become the law of the land in the entirety of the U.S. He brags about having 2/3 of the states. He said he didn't think it was going to happen, but they're going to win. We just heard. The IHRA is unfortunately the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And the definition of anti-Semitism is an ever-expanding definition aimed at outlawing the criticism of Jews and Israel. So that means any individual or group of Jews or the state of Israel would become illegal to criticize. I want you to let that sink in. That 2/3 of the states in the United States have already passed legislation to accept this. Tell me again how everything isn't Zionism. Tell me again how they don't control our government. I want to hear that again. Tell me again. Anyway, of course, this event was held in partnership with the ADL, the American Jewish Committee, and all these other disgusting anti-white Jewish organizations. And of course, this is backed by all of the Zionist shills in the U.S. government, in the U.S. FedGov. It's disgusting. All right. So the white dragon. Oops, that's the green. The white. This big boy. The white with us tonight is a great worm, old beyond mortal understanding and politically powerful even among dragons. In his old age, he enjoys learning about faraway human worlds, and Earth is one of his favorites. Despite the anti-white Zionist brain rot in our world, he thinks that this world is fairly nice, and he wishes us he wishes us the best in our struggle. His question tonight, Pomen, you said you'll take it. Do you think it's possible to remove Zionism from America without destroying the United States? If so, how? If not, why?
Oh yeah. If I speak, I'm in trouble, you know.
No, it's safe. It's safe here. Speak your mind.
Now, again, Zionism is one thing, but as he pointed out in that video, the big issue with the United States, they have obviously influenced a little bit everywhere, but especially in the Anglo world, it's like, oh, we didn't get this passed, like, but then Christians for Israel, or it's like, oh, again, and like those type of Christians, I'm American. Well, I'm Anglos in the 1800s, something you talked about, like Christian futurism concepts, brought into America because you don't have the church, you don't have a replacement of Israel, which is the church. This is why Christ died for our sins, to replace the temple, and a covenant with all of that jazz. But these people obviously don't believe that. They believe that the covenant with the Jews is still in effect, in the sense of not just in effect that they can do it through Christ, which we do believe they haven't been replaced, they have been fulfilled, but they believe that they're still the main ones in God's protection, and they don't have to follow Christ and still defend it, which is. But then, obviously, then they want the creation of the new temple because they believe that Israel has not been replaced by the church. So they need to get the physical Israel in the place of past Judea, rebuild the temple, put the Antichrist in the temple, as in Daniel, I think it is. Daniel or Ezekiel, I forgot which book. So then we all can die in nuclear hellfire. It's like, are you kidding me? But it goes back. The funny part about all of this, it goes back to the blood part that you mentioned before, because through young blood you will live forever mentality. It's exactly the same thing.
Nice callback to the previous article.
Yeah, because it's about this. So a lot of the, for example, earliest Christian Zionists were part of, the Anglo world, and I forgot his name. I read about names this late at night. But they were French, and they were seen as kind of crazy in the 1800s. But then 1890, 19s, and 1910s, a lot of the more Christian Zionists started coming up. Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, but a lot of the Seventh-day Adventists.
Yeah.
The Millites, the ones who are talking about the end of the world, because they want to bring forth that. But, for example, with Jehovah's Witnesses, they were early on Christian Zionists. Now they're mixed on it because they want to bring it forth, but also because they don't want to die. Like the person after Pastor Russell, when Jehovah's Witnesses started growing, he said everyone alive today will not die. That was the selling point. Like, you will never die because Christ will come back. He will bring away the evil and you will live forever. And then rapture became a very poignant idea in the United States, that that Christ will come back and you will fly to heaven, all because of one comment in Thessalonical, what Paul says. Oh, where are they? Oh, well, they're gone. Huh? That means they're raptured. No, it doesn't. But people then believe that, well, I'm not going to die. I don't want to die. So let's do whatever we can not to die. Well, maybe one way of doing it is building the third temple. Then we will not die. Well, let's give more Jews influence, because it also says in the Bible, wherever Jews rules or have power over something, the more we benefit, the more it benefits the earth of sorts. Again, but Israel has been replaced, so it's not about them. But not replaced, but you get the church is Israel. But it's all about wanting to live forever, and all of this as well. Like they rather, well, I think when the nukes drop, I'm gonna just flow up to heaven, so I will not die. But in the Bible, it says very clearly you have to die, because you will be resurrected in heaven later on. You will die like Christ died. You will die, but they don't want to die. Ashes to ashes, to say, no, I regret, I don't want that. I'll do everything in my power to crash the system if necessary, because I don't want to die.
I think there are definitely a lot of people like that in power right now.
Oh, yeah. And that's why these people get a lot of the powers to talk about, because any solution not to die. And it's awful. And yeah, you point the finger at the Jew, of course, but the Jew is just one part of a big problem.
Indeed.
They're a tool. Because in the end, another statement of Revelations is these people will die. Like the Jews will fight in the end times against Satan's army and die. So they do believe the people they're putting in Israel is going to die for them.
Yep. Because
like,
the modern Jews that we have, they are Talmudic, and one could even call them satanic. Because remember, the Jews we have today are not the Hebrews the Bible was talking about. I don't think that the rotten Moloch worshippers that call themselves Jews today with their satanic symbol on their flag, I don't think they are the ones that the Bible's talking about.
Yes, but regardless of that point, obviously you can argue that forever. But the Christians believe so. And I always have this mentality: if someone believes something is true, then they will make it true.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. No, I think many of them certainly do believe that. I'm just saying that I would argue that I don't think that if you were going to believe the prophecies of the Bible, I don't think that you could call the rotten devils that lord over Israel and our banking system. I don't think that they are anything at all like the ancient Hebrews. I don't think they're the same people. They're the same creature.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the Talmud is all about subverting and tricking God with like math and Jewish tricks.
Don't trick God.
Yeah, which I don't think you can do because he's God. So,
Of course.
So, same question to the rest of you. Do you think it's possible to remove Zionism from America without destroying the United States? I would love to hear some talk about it.
Well, I absolutely think it can be. It's more a matter of what do we have to dismantle in the deeper parts of the American system. And honestly, I look at organizations like the State Department as one of the bigger villains in this, simply because they view this as a kind of personal and moral challenge to them and their existence, and they are looking at all of what we're handling in this situation as some sort of just assault on their idealized world. They think through this juggling, and I'm trying to pick my words very carefully, so forgive the pauses and stumbles here. They're looking at this as something where if they have a zero-sum game where they think they will lose control, they're absolutely going to wreck the system in the United States. What we need to do is start looking beyond the way the power structures currently work and start doing the difficult work of taking, running primaries ourselves, start getting in there and specifically for Americans, but I would also say for your global audience, looking at running for local offices, start undermining them. That's how you take them out. They will come after you. They will hound you because that's what they do. That's how they stay in power. That's how they've gotten in power. And until you're willing to take a few slings and arrows yourself, I'm guilty of not doing this as well. So I'm not going to condemn anybody for not doing this. But when you want to fight this at a base level, you have to do it yourself. And you have to build coalitions of, I won't even say enthusiastic individuals, but people that look at the situation realistically and say, yeah, I do not like this foreign influence. I do not like the hell. It's not even foreign influence. It's a domestic influence with a pro-foreign outlook.
I consider all anti-whiteism and Zionism to be foreign to us, even if they live here. I think it is foreign to the way we want to live and how we should live.
I agree, but how we have to frame it is a very strange way, because you have to point out the foreign influence and interests. I look at the Rosenbergs when they were tried for espionage helping the Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at them as a domestic problem feeding the international global mentality and find ways to nip at it. You've got to be an annoying little chihuahua to take this down. And it's going to take a long damn time.
To give those two people a little bit of cred. They weren't really guilty in that sense, because FDR really liked Stalin, and FDR was already giving Stalin the nuke.
Yes, but someone had to take the fall.
Yeah,
Right.
they took the fall.
And that's right. So, anyone else want to talk about this? Politicrat? 3 of 12, perhaps?
Oh, I'm back. I'm good. I just got back, so I missed the context. But
okay.
It's
No
late,
problem.
so we should probably keep moving on.
Yeah. 3 of 12, anything? What do
Can you bring back the question?
Sure. Yeah, it was simple, so I just dropped it earlier.
Yeah, I'll make it quick.
Yeah, no problem. Do you think it's possible to remove Zionism from America without destroying the United States?
If I said things, I would be in trouble.
No, say them. Just make it YouTube friendly.
There has to be significant cultural shift in the United States, and the removal of, and basically the immediate prosecution and investigation of all sorts of people. It would require replacing the elites, basically.
Yeah, we need an elite cycle for that to happen. Now, let's go ahead and move to my answer. My answer is short and simple. Do I think that Zionism can be removed without destroying the United States? No. No, I don't. And I think the United States should be destroyed. But let me tell you exactly what I mean by that. The United States, like my friend Wes says, is not these United States like they were before the War of Northern Aggression. I think that what the United States is and has been for 100 years is wrong, destructive, harmful, and unnecessary for the well-being of my people. And if in the process of removing anti-whiteism from my country breaks that country and we have to build a better one, so be it. I think it's necessary and I think it's good. I am not married to this collection of ideas, paper, and speeches of what current America is. I love my people. I love our cultural and religious expressions. I love my civilization, and that means race. All of those things together is basically race. I love my people and my civilization. I love my European brothers and sisters. I love the people who are of my kind. And I want us to be well, be defended, and prosper. And the United States stands in bold opposition to all of those things. And so it is my enemy. But that doesn't mean that I want everything here to burn. It doesn't mean I want mass starvation and murder in the streets. I don't want those extreme things. I just have a radical opinion. Because being radical means far outside the norm. It doesn't mean extreme. Like, I don't want like death camps and shit. But what I do want is this entire structure of the United States what the Pentagon is, the Fed, the rotten way that DC works, the disgusting way that what this country became is nothing at all like what the founding fathers wanted for us and what my ancestors fought and died for originally. We don't have that anymore. Now, I know there's no going back, so we can't have that again, but we can build anew with that mindset, with those guiding principles and moral values, and we will rebuild from the broken carcass of what this disgusting United States is something better for us and our offspring. That's my answer to this question. It's kind of a mix of yes and no. So that's all I have to say on that. Any closing thoughts from any of you on this topic? Because if not, it's treasure time.
Yay.
We do have one nice paid chat over on Rumble from Captain Corgi. Captain Corgi, thank you very much. He sends $50 on Rumble. Thank you very much. That's a big rant. I deeply appreciate that. And all it says is shekels for ye. Well, thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate your shekels. I'll refresh all the other sites just to make sure I'm not missing anything. And then we will move on. All right. Nothing there. Nothing new there. All right. Well, we'll drop the banner. And where's the treasure card? There it is. Tonight's treasure, we have a couple of things. There is someone in my audience who wants me to shield something that is very interesting and cool. One of my followers is a role-playing game creator. He creates content for pen and paper RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons. And I would like to shield for him because he has a lot of products available now. So let me go ahead and pipe this in and pull it up. Nope, not there. It's the wrong one. Let me go back to this. All right. I think this is it. Yep, this is it. Here we go. Divinities and Cults is like Dungeons and Dragons. And this is role-playing modules and core books and setting books based on the original Dungeons and Dragons from the early 80s. And from what I have previewed of the material, it's quite good. It has good old school looking artwork. As you can see, there we go. It has some AI artwork as well as some contributed artwork, like you can see on the banner here. And let's see. Let me preview this. It did earlier. Come on, let me preview this. I want to show it off. Yeah, there we go. You can get it on Drive-Thru RPG. I've bought many PDFs and hardback books from here. As you can see, they're all very affordable products, usually less than $10 a piece. You can get, of course, these are in PDF, not printed form. But if you like this kind of material, you like classic old school pen and paper gaming, definitely check out Divinities and Cults. He has made a lot of products, and the ones I previewed are quite good. So as you can see, he has a lot to offer here, and there are several things on sale right now, so he wanted me to promote for him. So thank you, brother. Keep up the good work. Keep making content that is, based in good material for our kids and adults alike to play role-playing games together. So there we go. There's my shield. And also, I have one short little video that I discovered earlier today that gave me a good laugh. So let me go ahead and turn off the camera, go back to this view, drop the banner. And I showed Pomen and the gang this earlier. Check this out.
It's you!
Is that Bear in the Big Blue House? Is that Bear in the
Oh my god!
I remember that show.
Yeah, right? You remember that? That's old now, but yeah.
Classic. Yeah, I grew up on that.
I knew my younger bros would recognize that. All right. So, gentlemen, we have some memes to look at before we get out of here. So allow me to pipe those in. Starting with, man, not OBS. StreamYard is being really slow today. I don't know what the deal is. It's like it takes me 4 or 5 times to click on stuff to make it work. There we go.
They know. Shut it down.
No, it's probably some because there have been a lot of Windows updates lately, and there's been some jank I've noticed because I don't update. I'm still using Windows 10. So anyway, let's have a look at some memes. I like this one here. History is written by winners. No, actually, history was written by Ghislaine Maxwell's dad's textbook publishing company. That's the McGraw-Hill that most of us grew up on in American public school. I like this one. My gamer bros will get this one. Check this meme out. It's a visual. You have to see it. I've thought this many times playing a Dark Souls. Oh my God. I love that. Next up, Neil Armstrong was the first person to land on the moon. Neil A backwards is alien. The entropy chat from the FBI. Delete this shit right now. Oh, here's one for my Resident Evil bros who have played the new Resident Evil that just came out. If you get it, you get it, and it's fucking hilarious. If you don't, it's not for you. Anybody on the panel played that yet?
No.
All right. Well, I'm sure somebody out there has, and this is hilarious. Trust me. All right.
Oh my God.
Let's move on. We also have this. When your war stops trending.
I'm gonna kill Viktor Orban.
Yep. Snorts a line.
Plays the piano.
You mean in Minecraft? No, in real life.
No, in real life. Thank you, DK. I'm glad he is piping the mimetic icing on the discordant cake. Thank you very much. That's a cute comment. All right. Next, we have the homeless guy that I told I don't have any Patriot missiles watching me shoot down Iranian rockets.
Yeah.
Get fucked, Zelensky. Everybody hates you. All right. Americans in 77.6, we will break free from Great Britain. Americans in 2026, we will break free from Israel. Look, this. I'm pretty sure that this is some type of. Was this at the last big Republican convention? Is that what this screenshot's from? 3?
I think it was from APAC, actually.
I mean, I see it's APAC branded up there, but I didn't know if this was at the Republican convention itself, or this was an APAC specific thing. But anyway, I do think this is poignant. Next up, there seems to be a mistake. I'm your greatest ally. Dig the fucking hole.
Pretty much.
Activate the sleeper cells. Rule America. Oh boy. I'm thinking that we blow them up and get your people in charge and get their oil. I blew up the fuel deposits. What?
I like to believe this is our relationship with Israel.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Wait, what? You did what? To prevent bee stings, I'm preemptively striking this beehive. Smart, very smart. Next, we have good old Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh.
I know it hurts many of us, but hey, memes are memes. Truth is truth.
I have never believed in the whole fell for it meme, but I still think that's a neocon thing.
Yeah, a lot of people just go hook, line, and sinker into all the Trumpian MAGA stuff, no matter what. There's a few people that live around here who are like that. I like this one. Begging your pardon, ma'am. I'm pursuing runaway slaves, but seeing all is in order here, I'll be on my way. Chirp. Uh-oh. And last but not least, to kill a ceiling bird. Okay, gentlemen, that's the end. We've come to the end. Ardent Party. I think you've already shared the link to the American Spirits stream, but I will do it again. The sister stream to this one is American Spirits over on, excuse me, the Old Glory Club's channel. And it is the sister stream to this one on Monday nights now. So I'll be sharing the link in all of the chats for that. That's where I will be here in about 15 minutes when the stream starts. So I know that we shilled at the beginning, but I do encourage you guys, please check out Pomen's channel. Pomen, you can find him on YouTube at Pomen. You can find the link in the description and in the chat. And Pomen makes incredible and interesting content about history, weird people of history, and he did a really interesting deep dive in Lithuanian ancient religious culture, which I thought was fascinating. Pomen, anything you want to remind people about yourself before we get out of here?
Well, I have a bit of a series on Israel as well, if you guys want to watch that. Early Zionism, how it came to be.
Oh, it's good.
But, yeah, it's quite an interesting history, because one could vilify one's adversary, if that one want to define them as. But it's very important to understand why and how things came to be, more than just conspiracies. And how things were a bit of a mess.
Indeed. I know that Politicrat, you said you don't have anything to shill. Obviously, we shill the Old Glory Club here, so that's a thing. 3 of 12. Anything you want to shill this week, sir?
Not really. I'm okay. I think I did well enough by putting the Sega story in here.
Yes, I enjoyed that quite a bit. Thank you for the recommendation, and thank you for putting me on to whatchamacallit, Gamers Nexus.
Yeah.
I enjoy what I've read and seen of them so far.
But
All right, guys. The last thing that I do is, I pushed the wrong button. There we go. The last thing that I'll shill tonight is Bleach Demon and Fat Dave have a stream tomorrow night. That's the link I just shared in the chat. Bleach Demon and Dave are both friends of mine. Go check out their content. Hang out with them tomorrow night. And tomorrow I will be live streaming some more Yiz plays. I'll be playing some classic NES games tomorrow. Definitely come hang out with me for that between 4 and 6 o'clock tomorrow, Eastern time. And of course, I will have a morning walk coming out tomorrow where I share my thoughts about a few things. And of course, shill for my picnic. And again, before we get out of here, I will shill for my picnic. If you want to come join me in East Tennessee for an all-day Saturday event for grilling out and hanging out in a big, beautiful park with a bunch of like-minded pro-white people, well, I say a bunch. It'll probably only be like 5 to 10. Definitely get in touch with me and let me know that you want to come. Email me, PM me somewhere, tag me on Twitter or Gab, something like that, and I'll add you to the list. So I thank all of you lovelies in the chat for being here. Let's see, what did we peak at tonight? Let me check my notes. We peaked at 79 viewers tonight. Not as big as I usually have, but I know a lot of things are going on. Good to see Sonny, Jim, and all of you guys in the chat. I will see you next Monday night for more Discordant Dragons. Love yourself, love your people, and speak the truth to all who have the ears to hear it. Good night, and God bless.
Good night, everybody.